The information contained in this podcast is not to be used as tax advice. CapEd Credit Union recommends that you contact a tax professional for guidance and tax advice.
Well, hello and welcome to the February 2022 podcast with CapEd Credit Union. My name is Todd Christensen. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer with CapEd Credit Union. We have a special guest with us today. Her name is Liz Correa. She is an enrollment agent at Knuff & Conde CPA. She's a tax specialist, and I've had a pleasure of getting to know Liz over the last about 5, maybe 6 years. She serves on the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce board. I've had some great interactions with her through that amazing organization. And then Liz joined the board of directors with CapEd Credit Union. Liz, what has it been? 3 years that you've been on the credit union board of directors?
Yes, it's been actually this is going to be my 4th year in
already.
February. So
Wow.
yeah,
So
time flies.
Well, and I guess time even flies faster when you go through a pandemic. It may seem slow in the pandemic, but time does pass by pretty quickly.
It has.
Other things that you would want to share, Liz, a little bit about your career, your profession, and then today we'll jump into our topic of some important information, if you will, the frequently asked questions as it relates to preparing your 2021 taxes.
First of all, thank you, Todd, for this invitation for this podcast today. And I know you did a pretty good job. I've been serving the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for quite a few years, and also just the new foundation that we have under the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which is the Idaho Hispanic Foundation. Okay. And it's been quite a few busy years, and we're ready now for tax season for 2022.
So let's dive into that tax question. It may be items or subject that's near and dear to your heart as a tax specialist. Others may go, ugh, it's tax time again. But let me start off with asking the question, what are some of the key items that may have changed from 2020 to 2021? There were stimulus checks that were sent out, the child tax credit. How does that all play out as individuals look at collecting information and either preparing their individual's taxes or engaging a professional like you to assist them through that process?
Yes, you got to that point. The one of the main changes was the child tax credit, which we most of us had received an advance payment. So that's been a big change, and it might be an adjustment to either paying taxes or getting refunds back this year.
Okay. So if an individual, I'm thinking of, I have two daughters, both have a child. A child was born, a grandson, which we're very happy to welcome into our household, was born in November, but they never received any child tax credit. What would that scenario look like for them?
It is a good scenario for them because a child under 6 years old, the child tax credit, which is full refundable, is $3,600. So since they didn't receive an advance payment, they should be able to claim a full amount of the child tax credit, which is $3,600.
And that's not necessarily amortized or divided by 12. Even though our grandson was born in November, they would qualify for that for the entire year?
Children born on that year qualify as they were born for the whole year, so they will qualify for the full amount.
Oh, well, they were thinking about, well, wait, maybe we could be the New Year's baby. And I said, well, that's a little beyond your due date. And I said, you probably want to have the child in 2021 for tax purposes. And
that's a good tax benefit.
So how does it play out if a family has received that tax credit? Do they have to report that on their tax return? And if so, how do they report that on their tax return?
That's a very important question. And for those that received the advance, they should have received already a letter from the IRS. And on that letter, it tells them how much they received and how many children they receive it for. So it's very important to take that to the tax preparers, because it does tell us that they're gonna be matching it. So if we don't report it, then the refund might be on hold.
Okay.
And from last year's experience, there were people that their refunds were on hold for more than 6 months. And even the IRS said, some people might not be receiving their refunds in 6 to 12 months. So it's very important to keep those records.
Okay. Other elements around the child tax credit that our listeners should be aware of, and how they need to be aware of any documentation you referenced that they've received a letter or should have received a letter. Other things that folks need to be aware of as it relates to the advanced child tax credit?
If they haven't received a letter, I see the situation where, for example, for myself, I elected out not to receive the credit.
Okay.
And I created an online account with the IRS, and in there you are able to see how much you receive and how much you haven't received if you have an online account.
Oh, okay.
Another situation that I saw, one parent did not elect out to receive it, and the other parent did. So one of them got the letter and one didn't.
Okay. So you referenced setting up that online account. Is that an account with the IRS to be able to see what credits you may have received or not received?
Yes, it's your online account with the irs.gov. It's a little bit a hassle to get in there, because you have to go through the identity process. But I do recommend it, since everything is now electronically, most of everything. And I do recommend it, because we can always go back to check, okay, where's my refund, or how much did I get back in last year? And you would also be able to get those letters if you haven't received those.
Okay. So for our listening audience and those who may have not yet set up that account, can you walk us through that process? I'd assume that's irs.gov, but where would they go after that?
That's a good question. So it should be right on front, and it should say not open your online account, but it should say online account. So maybe we can go with your next question, and then I can look that up and we can come back to that one.
Okay, so we touched base on the child tax credit. What about the stimulus checks? I've heard people say, well, that's going to go against your 2021 tax refund that you may receive. Is that true, that any stimulus checks received are going to be debited against any refund at the end of 2021?
That's not correct. So this is how stimulus payments work. They have to be reported, they have to be included on your tax return, but it's not a taxable event.
Okay.
And that in the case, let's say someone did not receive that stimulus payment in 2021, so there's still a chance to get it back when they file their 2021 tax return.
Okay.
And that's one of the main reasons that we asked for that information. And the IRS, I think they did a better job this year, because they're also sending out those letters, and they're sending them individually, even if they file married filing jointly. There's still, each spouse is getting a letter.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers one of the questions that I had, that my wife and I filed jointly. She received a letter, I received the letter, and it was the same information. I'm like, this is the first time that we've gotten two documents, one to myself and then one to my wife. So thanks for that clarity. I was like, why did I get this twice? Other considerations that we need to be aware of, or our listening audience needs to be aware of as it relates to the stimulus checks?
So another another important item, if there are some people that did not receive their 2020 stimulus rebates, they're still able to file their 2020 returns too, and they can still get those back.
Okay. Not to take too much of a shameless plug, but you're with a great CPA firm here in the Treasure Valley and have offices here. You mind sharing your contact information for folks who may be looking for a tax specialist to help them navigate the waters of their tax return?
Oh, yes, we have 4 CPAs at our office. Our main partners are Brian Knopf and Kyle Candy. So our firm is named after the partners of Knopf and Candy CPAs. We are located at 515 South Fitness Place in Eagle, and our phone number is 208-855-2578.
Okay. You want to say that phone number one more time for those who are taking notes and make it a little easier for them?
Of course, 208-855-2578.
Okay. Well, I've always appreciated engaging with tax professionals, and I used to do my tax returns myself, and they were pretty simple, but as life got a little more complicated with different things here and there, so it's definitely worth engaging a tax professional to be able to guide through those documentations. And the first year that we engaged a CPA to assist us with our taxes, he shared, well, you should do this, and that changed the number at the end of the tax filing, which was a very beneficial change in the number from what I put together. So it's definitely worth the investment of time as well as the resources to engage a tax professional. Did you have a chance to take a look at that website and share
Yes.
more about how to set up that account with the IRS?
So if we're using our cell phones, it would be right on the first page, and it says sign into your account.
Okay.
So it's right on the front, and it will say sign into your account, and then just follow that. If you don't have an account, then it's gonna follow it. Just follow it, and you should be able to access that account.
I have found over the last several years that the IRS website has become much more user-friendly, and the information is much more easily obtained. And we've had an opportunity to set up our account about 2 years ago. It was a kind of not a painful process, but numerous steps to identify yourself, to secure your identity, make sure that your account is tied directly to your Social Security number and anybody that you may be filing taxes with. And that was a little frustrating, much less challenging than setting up for FAFSA and giving that information for student loans and potential assistance through Pell Grants, but definitely worth setting up so you can see your tax returns. And I've been able to see that you can actually look back, I think it's 3 to 5 years of your tax returns that are actually posted in that account. So if you have lost or forgot to retain your tax return, you can look back there.
Right, and it's also good for those that have, like you mentioned, that have students that are going to college and they need to apply for FAFSA. They need their transcripts. So that's a good place to ask for a transcript as well.
Okay. Other considerations as individuals prepare or gather all their information and all those letters that they received over the last couple of weeks and they've thrown into their mail pile and said, I'll deal with that later. Things that folks should be considering?
Yes, save receipts, save your deductions, and save those letters. We do tend to say, oh, more junk mail, but go over that, especially in the beginning of the year, January, February. Also for those who have investment accounts, we have tend that for the last couple of years, we don't get our statements until after February 15.
Okay. For investment accounts, that comes after February 15th. Did I understand that correctly?
Most likely.
Okay.
We used to get them back in January, but then a couple of weeks later, we started getting corrector statements. So that's what we've seen that after. So if you haven't received those yet, then you still have time to get those. Because
most other documentation is compelled to be mailed out at least by the 31st of January, correct?
Correct. Most for W-2s, 1099s.
1098s, that's the interest that's paid on mortgages. I know our mortgage team was working through that to make sure we hit that deadline to get out to members and that information. For those who are listening who are CapEd members, and share with you that the 1099 and the 1098 is available through e-documents within e-banking. You can log into e-banking either through the mobile app or on a desktop. And on the desktop, it's the upper right corner. And then look for e-documents. And then in that e-documents, you'll see where statements are posted, as well as information on your 1099, your interest income, or the 1098 interest paid on a mortgage. So, sorry, that was a quick plug for CapEd for an easy place.
No, that's great. That's great information.
So as we were preparing for this, we were kicking it around in our office yesterday, the question of what are some good ideas of what individuals should do with a tax return? Once they've gone through that process, they've engaged with you or your fellow professional tax preparers and they get that refund. What are some of your thoughts as it relates to how to use those dollars when they get them?
How to use our refunds? That's a good question. That's really a personal answer. For me, it would be save,
Okay.
invested. If someone already has an emergency fund that we have savings for from 1 to 6 months, then basically any other money we can start investing those.
Okay.
That's one of my recommendations. Maybe you're planning a family trip. It's a good money to save and to have that money to do that. But in our financial side, that's one of the best things to do now. We, out here in Idaho, personally, I see that we are a good state economically, where we have a good with economic life right now. But we need to be preparing, have that emergency fund. That's one of my recommendations.
I would echo that and agree with that if you have some smaller debt, either on credit card or a gas card or a merchant card somewhere, clear out that debt, especially if you can clear out that entire debt with a refund. If you're in a good position and you don't have that, I wholeheartedly endorse your recommendation, Liz, is take an opportunity to pay yourself first and use those resources to prepare for the future, whether that's in an investment account, or I might do another plug right here for CapEd. We have some amazing share certificates or certificate of deposit rates right now that are some promo rates. We've actually had that conversation as our management team and said, how do we help individuals, recognizing that rates have been quite low, and how can we help our members have some better savings opportunities? So we're making some adjustments to our rates on our CDs or share certificates, and encourage folks to take a look at those as a potential investment opportunity to be able to help your money earn more for you. Any consideration for small business owners or those who have a side hustle, have some other income outside of, say, the W-2 that they need to be aware of? Any changes in that area?
For small business owners, we haven't seen a lot of changes over the last year, but for them, my best advice is, keep your receipts, keep your deductions, especially for small owners, keep a mileage log. And it's very important to have those records and to keep them. As you might be aware, the IRS got a big budget amount, so we are estimating that there are going to be a lot more audits coming in the next years.
So that mileage log for business owners who are deducting that travel or that mileage expense, critically important to keep that log because that's probably one of the items that's going to be asked for first in that audit, correct?
Correct. It always comes up.
Okay.
Having good mileage records is a good good planning.
Any suggestions or recommendations on resources that business owners can use to track their mileage? I mean, obviously a pen and piece of paper in the truck or car works, but have you come across any resources to help individuals better track their mileage?
Now that with our phones, I don't have any specific app for mileage log, but there's quite a few ones out there. I personally don't know one that I really like. I would probably say that I'm still old school and still have a book.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes analog record is a good record, right?
Yes, and even as I even tell them, even write your mileage on that gas receipt, still ask for that gas receipt, even take a picture and then you can just save it as PDF. And you don't have, or scan it and write the mileage on that receipt, and then you can go back on a weekly basis and make those notations.
I really like that tip of, when the fuel station at the gas pump says, grab the receipt, always say yes, and then write the mileage. That's because you're always filling up. So make sure that you have fuel, and then there you have your expense for your fuel as well as being able to track your mileage. That's a great suggestion. Okay. PPP
and
loans.
if they don't like the receipt, take a copy, take a picture of that receipt and save it.
Okay. And I'm sure that there are a variety of apps that individuals who choose to do it on their mobile devices. I'm sure there's some that are out there that may either be for free or some that are charged, but well worth to track that so you have that good record.
Correct.
Considerations on the PPP loans. I know we as CapEd issued out a large number of those with a good number of dollars, well into the millions of dollars to help local businesses with that payroll protection program. And then there's been some forgiveness on that. Any thoughts on that for business owners from a tax professional standpoint?
From our side, we're going to be asking for those letters that they receive from their financial institutions to the date that the loan was forgiven. For those that had the PPP loans and they still haven't applied for the forgiveness, they still have time. They had 10 months. So we might be at the end of those 10 months. I believe it was back in June, July. So
June, July timeframe of last year, yes.
Of last year, and we will have 10 months.
Okay. And that's
to ask for that forgiveness.
Okay. And those who may have a PPP loan with CapEd, do reach out to our commercial lending team. You can connect with them through our website at capedcu.com. If you have a PPP loan from another financial institution, we'd encourage you to reach out to them through their commercial lending or their business banking teams to make sure you have that information. Okay. Question that I have in looking at taxes and looking at that end number and wherever you might be on one of those bubbles pushes you into a different tax bracket. When can an individual or household make a contribution to their IRA or their individual retirement account so that it counts in the year prior? Any thoughts on that or answer to that question?
One of the benefits that I see and for making a contribution to a traditional IRA is for those that had health insurance through the marketplace, and when they applied for the marketplace, their income might have been lower than what it was actually for the year end.
Okay.
So their taxable other, how do I say it? You might have to pay some of those credits back from the health insurance premiums because it was an advance premium. So if you made more money than what you told them when you applied for that, then some of that money, some of that credit might be coming to you and you have to pay it back.
Oh, okay.
So by making a contribution to the IRA, it might keep you under a lower bracket or a lower percentage that might help you not to pay some of that money back. So that's a good question to talk to your tax preparer and see if you are in that situation that they can help you with that.
So did I understand that correctly, that rather than paying back the tax credit, that dollar amount, actually make that as a contribution to a traditional IRA to reduce your taxable income, which then wouldn't require you potentially, again, talk with your tax preparer, to not have to pay that credit back? Okay.
Yes, or pay a lower amount of that credit back.
Lower amount, okay.
And that would also be contributions to an HSA, contributions to a traditional IRA.
Okay. Being able to make those contributions, what's the timeline of being able to make that contribution now that we're in 2022 and have it count for 2021 taxes?
We have until April 15, which is the due date for filing.
Okay.
And if you are making a contribution, make sure that you're telling either your investor to go back to 2021. And if you're making a contribution to an HSA, make sure that you tell your banker that is for 2021 contribution.
Okay. So you do have up until that mid-April timeframe to make a contribution to those tax advantaged accounts to count for 2021, even though we're in 2022. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. As we're wrapping up our podcast here, again, we're very blessed and pleased to have Liz Correa with us. She is a enrolled agent tax specialist with Knuff and Condie. She's also a board member of the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we're very blessed to have her on the CapEd Credit Union Board of Directors. Liz, we greatly appreciate you being with us here today. Any final parting comments, words of wisdom from the tax specialist, Liz?
No, thank you. Thank you for the invitation today. We're here for you. We're the tax preparer to save you some time. There's people that do file their own taxes that might take them 9 to 10 hours using an online software. So trust your tax preparer. So we're here to help you.
Well, I would echo that tax professionals are truly that professionals and can assist you in reducing that stress of that theme that we're all in now of preparing our 2021 taxes and navigating through those things that have changed, as well as somewhat of the complex system that we have here in the United States with our federal income taxes. Any statements as it relates to some of the things that have taken place at the state level? I don't know if you can share the impact of what Governor Little and the state legislature has done with the Idaho tax aspects.
There is one for the business owners. It's called the ABE that was just new and it passed in the last month of December. And that was basically paying your state taxes through a pass-through entity. And that's fairly new. We're also learning that as well. So talk to your tax preparer if you're in that situation where you owe taxes due to your business, a pass-through entity, which it would be an S corporation partnership.
Okay, and then we did see the other aspect of the consolidation, I think as they refer to it, of the tax brackets in the state of Idaho, the reduction of the corporate tax and individual tax, and then a tax rebate. Okay.
Yes, that would be, we saw one last year and we might see another one this year.
Okay. Well, Liz.
And it's not taxable.
And it's not taxable.
It's not taxable.
Which is great. If we get a tax refund, then it's not taxable. Great question or great comment there. I actually did have that question, that we did receive a state tax refund last year, or one outside of the normal tax season. I was wondering, now do I have to report that, or how do I report that? So good to know that that's not taxable.
That was your rebate.
That's the rebate.
That's the rebate.
A rebate so that it doesn't have to be taxed. That's great to know. Liz, again, it's our pleasure to have you with us here. We'll look forward to having you on our podcast in the future, A Wealth of Knowledge. I think it would be important to share and put you in the position of being on the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. CapEd works with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we have a radio program called Asesores de Confianza. It's on La Grande, and it's an opportunity for us to connect with the Hispanic community. Liz, would you mind sharing a little bit about your role with the Hispanic Chamber and how you use that partnership for Asesores de Confianza to communicate to the Hispanic community?
Now changing to my role of the chair of the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce with the Board of Directors, I truly we appreciate CapEd for that partnership, and it has just grown in the last 2 years, and we do appreciate all that support to our community. And I myself have participated on the radio program from both sides, from CapEd and from the chamber. So it's good to be able to give all this type of information over the radio program to our Hispanic community.
For those who haven't had an opportunity to explore that or come across that program, it is in Spanish, obviously, for our Hispanic community, and that's Wednesday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. I know, Liz, you and I have been in studio and have shared information to our Hispanic community. But again, that's on La Grande, 106.3 FM, 106.3 FM, Wednesday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. So you'll have an opportunity to hear from Liz there, as well as others from the chamber, and then also members of our Hispanic team here at CapEd. Well, let's wrap up. Again, Liz, thank you for joining us today. We greatly appreciate all the wealth of knowledge. Again, you're an enrolled agent tax specialist with Knuff & Conde, CPA, and we appreciate your service on the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, as well as on CapEd's Board of Directors. So, Liz, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you for the invitation, and looking forward to do a radio station program in I believe this month or next month.
Yep. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Liz. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for the February 2022 podcast with CapEd Credit Union. You always can find great information about CapEd, the offers that we have available through share certificates or CDs, our high-yield checking account that pays 2% on balances up to $10,000, and a variety of other services for individuals, organizations, and businesses at capedcu.com. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.